Hi, welcome to this long overdue edition of Garden Guns. Apologise for not getting any videos out really this year. I know the last ones I did were the Glock videos. It has been a crazy year. I'm sure I'm not the only person to think that or have found that. But anyway, I've got a couple of rifles on loan from, or on test from Phil and Tracey at Leicestershire Airguns, and both of them I think are actually worth making a video on. So here we are. First off, once again, I'd like to thank Phil and Tracey at Leicestershire Airguns. They are just outside of Leicester, a place called Quenenborough, just off the A46. So if you need anything airgun related, please give them a call, because without their help and without their trust, then I wouldn't be getting these interesting bits of kit through to be able to review and to test, well, to talk about and test, because I don't really review them. I tend to just talk too much, waffle on about these things. But anyway, so thanks to Phil and Tracey. Let's get on with this. Let's talk about this particular rifle. So what have we got here? This is the Reximex Ixia, or as it's known in other markets, the Throne. And this is, this is an interesting little piece of kit. It's certainly the first time I've ever had a bullpup to spend a decent amount of time shooting. You know, I've had a couple of goes on people's down at the range and things like that, but I've never really, had the opportunity to actually spend time shooting one of these things, and now I have. So I've now got something to say about it. But before we do that, let's talk about the rifle. So we'll start at the tip and end at the tail, and I'll go through it and generally talk about its features. So to start off with, it's got a knurled thread cover at the end, covering a 1/2 inch UNF thread. It's got a shrouded barrel, and the barrel itself is reasonably long. You have got another Ixia which has got a longer barrel on it, and that definitely has moderation in there. But I mean, as you can see, this is the bonus about a bullpup. You've got a decent length barrel even on this compact little thing. So it's far more than you would expect, or far more than you would get off a standard air rifle for the same size, which is one of the bonuses of the bullpup. So as I said, this barrel I believe is this shroud is, I believe, got some form of moderation inside it. Obviously, not being my rifle, I haven't taken it to pieces. I haven't had a decent look inside it. It's not really my place. But I do know that the longer, I've seen inside the longer barrel, and that's got some moderation in it. And the report from this for garden plinking is remarkably muted. It's definitely not got a great big crack, and it doesn't seem to disturb the neighbours. I certainly haven't felt bad shooting this without a silencer added to it. Having said that, for hunting, if I was using it out in the field, then yeah, I'd definitely add a form of secondary moderation to it. Anyway, it comes into a scope rail. This scope rail is both Picatinny and dovetail, which I really like. It allows use of your existing equipment. You don't actually have to go out and buy new mounts for it if you've got existing mounts on a scope already. And on top of this, I've got my MTC Viper Connect, and into the first moan. This is the only scope I could put on this rifle that I could fit the rifle and the scope into the box that Reximex supply the rifle with. The box, for all intents and purposes, other than a method to transport the rifle, is virtually useless, unless you're going to put something like this on the top. If you put any decent size or larger size scope on it, you won't be able to fit the scope into that box and use it. So I wish these manufacturers would either provide a decent sized box, or a decent sized case, or just use a normal box and maybe chuck a couple of tins of decent pellets in instead, because you're going to have to buy a secondary box or a secondary gun slip, and the plastic box is going to end up in your loft or in your garage or something like that. But anyway, enough about bitching about that. Let's get on with this. You've got a 300ml bottle on this one. This is a carbon bottle. Max fill pressure on the bottle, it says, is 375, although the max fill pressure on the rifle itself is it's 250 bar. So that's 375 to 250 bar. Yep. So you're looking at a hell of a difference. I mean, you know, the bottle can take the pressure, but the rifle, you go above 250 and you're going to blow the seals out on it. It comes back into a side cocking lever. I think FX used to call it the biathlon cocking lever, and there is a cutout on either side here. This would have been for the adjustment for the regulator, to adjust your regulator pressure, which is there on the Throne but not on the Ixia. So that's probably the major difference between the Throne and the Ixia. One thing I should mention while we're still in this area about the cocking handle is there's a blanking plate on the other side of the rifle. You can take that off and switch the cocking lever around so you can make it left or right, right side. So for all of you left-handed fellows out there, ladies, it's basically, once again, something that just provides that extra bit of usability for the whole marketplace, rather than, you know, it's being specifically geared towards right-handers, which we find all too often. Not that it bothers me, because I am, you know, right-handed, so I don't find that problem. The regulator pressure gauge is here. Now, as I say, in the UK market, not so much of an issue, but at least it shows whether the regulator's functioning properly. I have, however, found for bench rest shooting, when I've been shooting groups, the regulator provides, the gauge provides a really nice thumb rest, because I tend to shoot basically with my thumb up, rested, when I'm shooting for groups, bench resting. So that's an added bonus. We're into the pre-chamber, plenum chamber here. You've got a knurled nut at the top here. This, as far as I understand, is to allow removal of the barrel. I've not done that. This isn't my rifle, as I've said. I think I've said already. It's not my place to start taking this to pieces. So I haven't played with that. I haven't tried removing the barrel, but I understand that that's what that's for. Here is a little gauge that says plus or minus, and the nut, the knob, the adjustment is here on this side for that. That adjusts your transfer port, basically adjusts your power. Now I've chronographed this. This is doing high 11 foot-pounds straight out the box at full power, and when you wind it down to the lowest power setting, it's doing, 6.7, 6.9 foot-pounds. If you put it into the middle position, it then gives you 10.9. So you're losing 1 foot-pound from the highest pressure setting to the middle indent, or the middle detent, and then going all the way back down, it then drops from 10.9 to 6.9, say. So you're losing 4 foot-pounds in a tiny little movement there. So for short range, but maybe if you've got a small back garden and you don't want to be using the full power, then you can drop it down to 6, just over 6 foot-pounds. If you want to be shooting longer range at the club or somewhere like that, then at full chat, this is just below the 12 foot-pound mark. If you're going to use it for hunting, I would definitely suggest making sure you've got a chronograph and play with the adjustments so that you know what you're getting at each setting, or at each place. If you intend to use this, say, around barns or for short range work, and you want that lower power, because it isn't linear, this power adjustment doesn't appear to be linear, so you really are going to have to know what it equates to. As I say, for plinking, you can I would either use it at low power all the way down, or I'd use it at full power, and I wouldn't really bother with the in-between settings. Further back here, this is your hammer spring adjustment. Far more use for the Throne than for the UK market. As I say, if I wanted to adjust the power, I would just use the transfer port adjustment here. Anything else? Adjustable butt pads, up and down. I've got this all the way down to give myself a reasonable cheek weld for this scope, because it's quite low mounted. You've got a sort of a military style pistol grip. The safety is a bit strange on this. I've never seen one like this before. Having said that, I quite like it. It's actually part of the trigger guard. You flick it down for off and back up for on. Now the only issue I found is maybe if you were resting on something, then there's the ability to sort of inadvertently flick the safety back on. But you know, it's really simple just to flick back off with the finger. To be honest, I think it's probably one of the easiest safeties I've ever used, but there we go. I think it's going to be a chalk and cheese thing. Some people call it Marmite. Some people are going to like it. Some people are going to absolutely hate it. The trigger shoe is adjustable both for height and for left and right. For height, I mean, we're talking like millimeters of adjustment. It's really not a huge amount. The left and the right, though, especially considering you can change the cocking handle over, you know, it is a nice little touch, so you can set it for left or right-handed people. What else can I suggest? Oh, the trigger is adjustable, I believe, but you have to take the whole of the grip off from what I've seen in the manual, and then adjust it. It's sort of two-stage. Let's have a little look at this now. So you definitely come up against a sort of a shelf, but it's spongy, I think, or you know, sort of squishy. I think it's probably, you know, technical terms through and through with me. Yeah, it's not a definite shelf like you would get on a standard rifle. You know, you have a definite stop at the end of that first stage and a clean pull through to that second stage and break. With this one, you sort of come up against a slightly squishy first stage, and then the rifle lets go. It is predictable, especially once you've shot a few mags. You'll get a feel for it. I mean, to be fair, from what I've read about bullpup triggers, I was actually surprised at how nice this trigger is. I was expecting it to be really, really bad, and it's not. It's more than usable. It's just not quite what I would be used to on, say, you know, my Huntsman, the R10, or yeah, you know, I can't think. Yes, like that, or the FX actually that I've got to test next. You know, it's just not quite. Yeah, it's not quite up there compared to a normal rifle, but it's still way better than I was expecting, and more than usable. Anything else to say? We've got fill port here and a little pick rail here for the use. You can add a bipod to that, or you know, yeah, bipod probably. That'd be a useful addition to this. Having said that, this is one of the most, you know, nicely balanced rifles I've actually used. You know, it really does. When you get it in, everything sort of sits in that midpoint, balanced off the hull. Yeah, everything is, the weight is all centralised in that area there. Or at least that's how it feels to me. And you know, resting on one arm off something, I get a really, well, certainly one of the most stable sight pictures I've had. You know, that you know, without a bipod or without some form of, you know, rest for the end. Freehand, it's certainly one of the nicest balanced rifles I've ever used. So, but anyway, we'll talk about more about that in the summing up. So, I don't think there's anything else I can talk about. Probably waffled on and off. So let's get downrange. Let's do the group portion of this. Hopefully, I'll be able to do it some justice today, and then we'll come back and have a summing up. Back with you in a couple of seconds. Right, had to change the camera around because the sun, whoop, that was close. The sun is decided to make an appearance, which is nice. We'll talk about the magazine later when we're doing the summing up, but for now, let's see how well I can do, because I have been literally spraying pellets all over the target today. Not doing magnificently well. I think my shooting zen is slightly out. But anyway, so 10 shots, JSB exacts, 8.44 grains, and these are 4.53 on the head size. 30 yards, just tad over. Oh. And there we go. So one natty little thing is, it does have a sort of a last round hold open. When you've shot that last round, the magazine clicks forward and basically blanks off the breech, so you can't cock on an empty mag. Cock on a, no smutty comments. Right, can actually decock this rifle. I don't know if I mentioned it, but by holding the cocking lever back, depressing the trigger and then easing the cocking lever forward, it does allow you to decock. Right, so let's drop the magazine. I'll find that in a minute. Let's go down range, pick the target up and come back and have a chat. Right, so first thing, before we talk about the grouping that I've shot, let's talk about the mag. So for all of you that are familiar with these Turkish, Kral, Webley, style magazines, it's got that spring-loaded clear plastic, I think it's plastic rather than perspex, front top that you have to rotate all the way around. As I say, it's spring-loaded, so if you let go, it just whizzes all the way back. So you've got to go against the spring action till you get to that end stop, finger over the bottom because there is a hole, and you drop that first pellet in. The amount of pellets I've lost through the bottom because I forgot to put my finger over the hole is a few. Once that first pellet goes in, it locks that rotational mechanism in place and stops the thing from springing back on itself, and it allows you to drop however many pellets you want in there for whatever you're doing. As I say, I've been putting 10 pellets in there for the groups, but the magazine in 177 actually takes 14, so you get 14 shots. So that's the magazine. What about the groups I've just shot? Well, here you go. Oh, I don't know if you can see that well enough. Let me get a bit closer. Focus. So I don't know if you heard on the shooting section, I probably will have speeded that up, but audible groan from me regarding that shot because I massively pulled that. And then this shot just here at the top, yeah, I've got a feeling that was me as well. But even despite that, if you look at it, the whole lot fit underneath the thumbnail. That, even with my mess ups, that's still a thumbnail size group. at 30 yards. I've been shooting this for a few weeks now, and yeah, you know, the best groups at 30 yards I've been doing have been inside a little finger. You know, when I've really got it together and shot as good as I can shoot, I've been able to group it inside a fingernail at little fingernail at 30 yards. But you know, 1p piece size groups at 40 all day with this thing if you do your bit. Yeah, I mean, on the whole, this rifle, I have been really impressed with it. It's yeah, it has surprised me at how well it's performed. The trigger surprised me. I was expecting it to be a lot worse. You know, I think I've talked about the trigger already at the beginning of the video. If I haven't, then it was in one of the other videos I've shot. But anyway, the trigger has surprised me. I was expecting it to be a lot worse for a bull pup, but it's, as I said, it's easily shoot. It's very eminently shootable. As I say, I've been shooting reasonable groups that I'm happy with any rifle at 30 yards with this. I think for the price point, especially when you compare it to something like an FX or a Day State, at the price point, you know, you're really going to struggle for the UK market anyway to beat this at that price that this goes out at. It performs admirably, and at sub 12 foot-pounds, I do question the need for all the adjustment and the need to change a barrel on it. You know, if you want to do that, hopefully they will be bringing in different barrels at some point. If you're really interested, then find out who the importer is, because I'm not completely sure, and contact them to see if barrels will be available. Speak to your local gun shop, maybe they can help. But you know, sub 12 foot-pounds, unless you're really looking to shoot slugs through them, in which case, once again, that's a conversation to have with your supplier. I don't really see the point in going further up the chain in terms of price versus performance. This has been an absolute pleasure to shoot. If you're shooting, you know, above 12 foot-pounds, then maybe you've got the argument in place there, especially if you want to shoot slugs. Then, you know, making sure you've got that the ability to change the barrels out and swap them for a slug liner or something along those lines. That might be definitely where the FX starts to maybe tip in the balance, and spending that extra money comes in. But as I've said, you know, you can change the barrels out on this. So what Reximex are planning on doing and what is available elsewhere, you know, I'm not 100% sure on, because I've only seen what is available right here, right now in the UK marketplace. What else can I say? Would I buy one? To be fair to this rifle, it's really made me alter my opinion of bullpups. I wasn't completely sure on their relevance for the UK marketplace, but spending some time with this, I've been, you know, really pleased with how nice it's been to shoot, how accurate it's been, how compact the package is. I really think as a pest control tool, what a great piece of kit. It's well balanced, easily maneuverable. The fact that you can change the power levels to suit shorter range vermin, you know, needs is an absolute boon. For use as a plinking tool, once again, at the price point it is, definitely. You know, if this appeals to you, if this sort of package appeals to you, then absolutely, this is a great plinker. I definitely think you could take it around an HFT course and have a great deal of fun with it. You know, down the range, it's more than accurate enough to be knocking 70-meter targets out once you've learnt your holdovers and things like that. And for the back garden, you know, especially if you've got a shorter back garden, you've got the ability to drop the pound to, you know, below 7 foot-pounds with the adjustment on it. So, you know, once again, a really versatile piece of kit, and one that looks pretty damn cool. You know, yeah, I'm really glad I got to spend the time that I have with this. So anyway, on that point, please keep an eye out for the next video. I'm going to have a crack at trying to do that today. Hopefully the weather will hold, or hopefully I won't run out of time. But anyway, once again, thanks very much for watching. I look forward to making the next video, and until then, stay safe. All the best.